And thank you to everyone for coming out today. I do want to recognize from the Senate, Senator Jeanine for joining us today. Thank you for coming out. We recently saw the effects of climate change to our neighbors in the north. Storm surge during a recent January storm flooded many coastal towns in Massachusetts. This so-called bomb cyclone covered most of the East Coast in snow and appeared to have an eye like a hurricane. Even though the world is 0.5 degrees Celsius warmer than average, parts of the East Coast were 10 degrees below normal. We all know that Puerto Rico was devastated by a powerful hurricane 4 months ago and is still trying to recover as they deal with the lack of food, water, and electricity. Wildfires have destroyed large areas in California, and by the end of this century, Rhode Island can expect over 9 feet of sea level rise. According to NASA's Earth Observatory website, a study based on more than 2 decades of satellite data showed that hurricanes intensify significantly faster now than they did 25 years ago. And researchers found that some storms attain Category 3 wind speeds nearly 9 hours faster than they did in the 1980s. And global wind speeds have increased by an average of 5% over the past 2 decades. Our world is changing, and we must do what we can to fight the effects of climate change now. We must be bold, and we can no longer talk the talk without walking the walk. Addressing climate change and its effects on the citizens of Rhode Island should be an imperative for all leaders within our state. Today, I am honored to join all of you as we introduce the Energize Rhode Island Economic and Climate Resilience Act of 2018. Today, we stand alongside 8 other states who have come together to work in a carbon cost coalition. The legislation that Representative Regan Berg and I will be introducing today will put a price on carbon pollution. This is done by putting a fee on the carbon that is imported into our state and is expected to raise $140 million in its first year alone. Much of the money raised will be returned to families and businesses in our state through a rebate and will ensure that lower income residents and those that make the switch to more renewable energy sources will come out ahead. This legislation also creates the Energize Rhode Island Fund, which will take some of the money raised on the carbon fee and apply it to green infrastructure development projects and other renewable energy efforts. And in order to protect Rhode Island from being an outlier, the act will go into effect only when at least 2 other states in our region impose a similar fee. But we must lead. We are a small but mighty state, and we can and we must continue to show our support for fighting climate change as we did with the nation's first offshore wind farm. We can show that we are committed to the Paris Climate Agreement and meeting the regional greenhouse gas initiative goals. And we can show the people of Rhode Island that we will again take the lead in fighting climate change by passing the Economic and Climate Resilience Act of 2018. Thank you.